The ancient warning. The celestial archive floated in the void between galaxies, a structure so ancient that even the stars themselves had been young when it was built. Inside its crystalline halls, Zekthor of the Tirvan walked with heavy steps, his 6 limbs clicking against the polished floor. His people had been observers for millennia, watchers of the younger races, keepers of forbidden knowledge. Today, he wished he had never accepted this burden. The chamber he sought lay at the heart of the archive, sealed behind doors that had not opened in 5,000 cycles. The seal itself glowed with warning symbols in 17 dead languages, each one screaming the same message: do not open. Do not forget. Do not ignore. Zekthor placed his primary manipulator against the lock. The door recognized his genetic signature and began to open with a sound like thunder rolling across an empty plain. Inside, the air was stale, preserved exactly as it had been left. And there, in the center of the room, sat the memorial sphere. He approached it slowly, his secondary hearts beating faster than his primary one. The sphere activated at his presence, projecting images into the air around him. Images of a small blue world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Images of a species that walked on 2 legs, possessed only 2 eyes, and had skin in various shades of brown and pink. Humans. The recording began to play. It was the voice of his ancestor, first observer Kelmore, speaking from 5,000 years in the past. The words were meant for Tirvan ears only, a warning passed down through generations. We made contact with them when they were primitives, the recording said. They had barely discovered agriculture. They fought each other with crude weapons made of bronze and iron. We thought we could guide them, shape them, mold them into something useful for the greater galactic community. Zekthor had heard this story before, passed down through his lineage, but hearing it in his ancestor's own voice made it real in a way that legends never could. We were fools, Kelmore continued. We established a research outpost on their world, hidden from their primitive sensors. We studied them for 300 of their years. And what we saw terrified us. They learned at a rate that defied all known models of social development. They went from bronze to iron in a blink. From iron to steel. From kingdoms to empires. They split their world into nations and proceeded to fight wars that killed millions of their own kind. The images shifted, showing battles, conflicts that spanned continents. Humans killing humans with increasing efficiency. But that was not what frightened us, Kelmore said. What frightened us was that they never stopped. They would sign peace treaties, rebuild their civilizations, and then find new reasons to fight. And each time they fought, they innovated. They created new weapons, new strategies, new ways to kill. War was not just something they did. It was something they excelled at. Zekthor watched as the images showed humans developing flying machines, then weapons that could destroy entire cities in single explosions. We decided to reveal ourselves, Kelmore's voice carried a weight of ancient regret. We thought that by showing them they were not alone in the universe, we could unite them, give them a common purpose beyond destroying each other. We sent a delegation to meet with their leaders. 20 of our finest scientists and diplomats. We brought gifts of knowledge, offers of friendship. The recording paused. When it resumed, Kelmore's voice was hollow. They captured our delegation within hours. Not to learn from us, but to dissect us. They wanted to understand our technology, our biology, our weaknesses. They kept our people alive for weeks, studying them, learning everything they could. And when they had extracted all the information they wanted, they sent us a message. The image changed to show a simple text transmission in the human's primitive language: "We know you're watching. Leave our world, or we will find you." We thought it was a bluff, Kelmore said. We had technology thousands of years beyond theirs. So we sent a security force to retrieve our people and teach the humans a lesson about respecting their betters. 3 ships, enough firepower to level their largest cities. Zekthor knew what came next, but he still felt his lungs constrict as the recording continued. They destroyed all 3 ships. We still don't know exactly how. Our final transmissions showed humans boarding our vessels, moving through our corridors with a speed and ferocity we had never encountered. They used our own technology against us, learning how to operate our systems within minutes of seeing them. And they were laughing. Our crew reported hearing human laughter echoing through the dying ships. The images showed wreckage floating in space, debris from ships that should have been invincible. We evacuated our research station immediately, Kelmore continued. We sealed their solar system with every warning beacon we could create. We erased all evidence of our presence from their world, hoping they would forget we existed. And we made a decision that still haunts me. We would watch them from a distance and pray to the old gods that they would destroy themselves before they reached the stars. The recording shifted to show more recent images, humans landing on their own moon, humans building space stations. But they have not destroyed themselves, Kelmore's voice was barely a whisper now. They have continued to grow, to learn, to expand. And one day, they will break free of their system. One day, they will come to the stars. And when they do, I pray that whoever hears this message will remember, do not provoke them. Do not threaten them. Do not give them a reason to turn their remarkable capacity for violence toward you. The recording ended. Zekthor stood in silence, his mind racing. He had come to the archive because of a report that had reached the Tirvan Council 3 days ago. A report that made his blood run cold. The quarantine beacons around the human solar system had gone silent. He activated his personal communicator, connecting to the council chambers on the Tirvan homeworld. The face of High Counselor Mektar appeared in the projection, her features drawn with concern. Zekthor, she said. Have you confirmed it? Yes, High Counselor. The beacons are offline. All 17 of them. Either they failed simultaneously, which is statistically impossible, or the humans disabled them, Mektar finished his sentence. How long? 6 months ago, perhaps longer. We only noticed because one of our survey teams passed through that sector and detected the silence. Mektar's form seemed to shrink. Then they could be anywhere by now. There's more, Zekthor said, pulling up another data stream. I've been monitoring galactic communications. The Krillian Empire has been expanding aggressively toward that region of space. Their war fleets are exploring new systems, looking for resources and worlds to conquer. The Krillians were a relatively young species by galactic standards, barely 10,000 years old. But they were powerful, aggressive, and convinced of their own superiority. They had conquered 47 species in the last millennium alone, building an empire that stretched across 3 spiral arms. Do they know about the humans? Mektar asked. No. The quarantine was established before the Krillians achieved space flight. There are no records in the general galactic databases. Only we remember. Then we must warn them. Zekthor had expected this response, but he still felt a chill at hearing it spoken aloud. High Counselor, with respect, the Krillians will not listen. They believe themselves to be the apex predators of the galaxy. They will see any warning as a challenge. Then what do you suggest? We cannot simply allow them to stumble into human space unprepared. The consequences could be catastrophic. The consequences will be catastrophic regardless, Zekthor replied. But if we warn the Krillians and they ignore us, at least we will have tried. Send me to their capital. Let me present the evidence from the memorial sphere. Perhaps if they see what we saw, they will understand. 3 days later, Zekthor stood before the Krillian War Council in their fortress city on the planet Krylos Prime. The council chamber was designed to intimidate, with walls decorated with the banners of conquered worlds and floors stained with the blood of defeated enemies. The Krillians themselves were massive creatures, standing 3 times the height of a human, with 4 arms ending in clawed hands and faces that resembled nothing so much as predatory birds. Grand Marshal Vorath, commander of the Krillian war fleets, leaned forward on his throne. His eyes, all 6 of them, focused on Zekthor with barely concealed contempt. You come before us with warnings of a primitive species, Voritha's voice was like grinding metal. You ask us to fear creatures who have barely left their own world. Explain why we should not consider this an insult to Krillian honor. Zekthor projected the images from the memorial sphere, showing the destruction of the Tirvan ships, the recordings of his ancestors' warnings. He spoke for an hour, laying out every piece of evidence, every reason why the humans were different from any species the Krillians had encountered before. When he finished, the council chamber was silent. Then Vorith began to laugh. It started as a low rumble and built into a roar that shook the walls. The other council members joined in, their laughter mocking and cruel. You expect us to believe, Vorith said between laughs, that the mighty Tirvan, observers of galaxies, keepers of ancient knowledge, were defeated by primitives with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons? That you fled in terror from a species that cannot even leave their own solar system? They can leave it now, Zekthor said quietly. The quarantine beacons are down. They are in your space, Grand Marshal. Perhaps they have been for months. Then they will learn what it means to face the Krillian Empire. Vorith stood, his full height impressive even among his own kind. We have crushed 47 civilizations. We have burned worlds that defied us. These humans will be number 48. Grand Marshal, please, Zekthor felt desperation clawing at him. You do not understand. They are not like other species. They do not think like we do. They do not fight like we do. They will adapt to everything you throw at them. They will learn from every battle. They will never stop, never surrender, never forgive. Good, Vorith smiled, showing rows of serrated teeth. Then they will provide sport before they die. Council, I propose we send the Fifth Fleet to investigate this human space. If these creatures are as dangerous as the Tirvan claims, we will crush them before they can become a threat. If they are as primitive as I believe, we will add another conquest to our empire. The vote was unanimous. The Krillian War Council authorized the deployment of the Fifth Fleet, 200 warships led by Vorith himself. They would depart within the week, heading toward the small yellow star at the edge of their territory. Zekthor left the council chamber knowing he had failed. He sent one final message to High Counselor Mektar: they would not listen. The Krillians marched to war with humanity. May the old gods have mercy on them, for the humans will not. As he boarded his ship to return to Tirvan space, Zekthor looked out at the stars and wondered how long it would be before the galaxy learned the lesson his people had learned 5,000 years ago. Some species were never meant to be provoked. Some species were never meant to be threatened. And humanity was chief among them. First blood. Grand Marshal Vorith stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Sovereign Talon, watching the stars stream past as his fleet traveled through hyperspace. Around him, 200 Krillian warships moved in perfect formation, a display of military precision that had brought entire civilizations to their knees. This would be a simple expedition, he thought. A quick demonstration of Krillian superiority, perhaps a few orbital bombardments to establish dominance, and then the humans would surrender like all the others had. His second-in-command, War Captain Thelrak, approached with a datapad clutched in his lower right hand. Grand Marshal, we will emerge from hyperspace at the edge of the human solar system in 1 hour. Our scouts report no defensive fleets, no military installations beyond their inner planets. It appears they are unprepared for our arrival. Voritha's mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. The Tirvan were cowards who ran from shadows. These humans will learn the difference between ancient observers and true warriors. Prepare the standard ultimatum. We will give them one chance to surrender before we begin the demonstration. The hour passed quickly. Vorith felt the familiar sensation of his ship dropping out of hyperspace, the universe snapping back into normal space with a lurch that his gravity compensators barely smoothed out. The view screen cleared, showing the human solar system laid out before them. It was unremarkable. A yellow dwarf star, several rocky inner planets, gas giants in the outer system, debris fields and asteroid belts scattered throughout. But Voritha's eyes were drawn to the third planet from the star, the blue and green world the humans called Earth. "Scan for military assets," he commanded. The sensor officer worked his console for several minutes before responding. "Grand Marshal, we detect 17 orbital stations around the primary world, 32 satellites in various orbits, and approximately 100 small craft in the inner system. Their technology appears primitive. Chemical propulsion, early fusion reactors, basic energy weapons. No shields detected. No faster-than-light capability observed." Vorith allowed himself a small smile. The Tirvan had been frightened by this. "Open a communication channel. All frequencies." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, Grand Marshal." Vorith took a moment to compose himself, then spoke with the full authority of the Krillian Empire behind his words. "Attention, human civilization. I am Grand Marshal Vorith of the Krillian Empire, Commander of the Fifth Fleet. Your solar system now falls under Krillian jurisdiction. You will surrender immediately and unconditionally. You will provide us with a full inventory of your resources and technology. You will accept Krillian overseers to govern your worlds. Resistance will be met with complete annihilation. You have one of your planetary rotations to comply. This is your only warning." He cut the transmission and settled back into his command throne. "Now we wait for them to realize the futility of their position." But the response came much faster than he expected. Less than 5 minutes after his ultimatum, the view screen flickered to life, showing a human face. The creature was small, pale-skinned, with 2 eyes set in a flat face and a mouth that curved in what might have been a smile. It wore some kind of military uniform, dark blue with insignia that meant nothing to Vorith. When it spoke, its voice was calm, almost conversational. "Grand Marshal Vorith of the Krillian Empire. This is Fleet Admiral Sarah Mitchell of the United Earth Space Command. I'm afraid we must decline your generous offer." Vorith felt a flicker of surprise. He had expected fear, panic, desperate pleas for mercy. This human showed none of those things. "You decline. Perhaps you did not understand. We have 200 warships. We can reduce your world to ash. Your surrender is not optional." "Oh, we understood perfectly," Admiral Mitchell replied. Her smile widened slightly. "We've been listening to Krillian communications for the past 18 months. We speak your language. We know your tactics. We've studied your previous conquests quite thoroughly. And we've concluded that your offer is unacceptable." 18 months. The words hung in the air like a curse. Voritha's upper arms clenched. "You have been monitoring our communications?" "Impossible. You lack the technology." "We lacked the technology 18 months ago," Mitchell corrected. "Then one of your scout ships had a malfunction near our space. Your crew managed to repair it and continue on their way, never knowing that we'd attached a few surprises to your hull. Surveillance packages, mostly. Very small, very quiet. Your people never detected them." "War Captain Thelrak," he said quietly. "Target the nearest human orbital station. Fire when ready." Thelrak hesitated. "Grand Marshal, perhaps we should." "Fire." The weapons officer obeyed. A lance of coherent energy leaped from the Sovereign Talon, crossing the distance to the orbital station in seconds. The station exploded in a brilliant flash, debris spinning away into space. Admiral Mitchell's face on the viewscreen showed no emotion. "You were warned," she said simply, and the channel went dead. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Voritha's sensors showed no change, no movement from the human vessels. He began to think they had surrendered after all, that the destruction of their station had broken their will. Then the sensor officer screamed. "Grand Marshal! Contacts!" Multiple contacts emerging from the asteroid belt, from behind planetary bodies, from everywhere. Hundreds of them. The view screen switched to tactical display, and Vorith felt his heart skip a beat. Ships were appearing throughout the system, not the primitive craft his sensors had detected earlier, but something else entirely. They were small, fast, and there were thousands of them. How did we not detect them? Vorith demanded. They were cold, sir, the sensor officer replied, his voice shaking. No power signatures, no heat emissions. They were drifting like debris. Now they're lighting up their reactors. The human ships moved with impossible coordination, flowing around the Krillian fleet like water around stones. The first wave struck at the fleet's flanks, where the lighter escort vessels protected the massive dreadnoughts at the center. But these humans didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they released clouds of something that Vorith's sensors couldn't immediately identify. The clouds engulfed 3 Krillian frigates, and within seconds, the ship's shields began to fail. What are they using? Vorith shouted. Analysis suggests, nanomachines, Grand Marshal. Self-replicating machines too small for our shields to stop. They're eating through the hull plating, disabling systems, spreading through the ships like a plague. One of the frigates exploded as its reactor went critical. The other 2 went silent, dead in space. Return fire. All batteries. Vorith commanded. The Krillian fleet opened up with everything they had. Energy beams, missile salvos, kinetic projectiles. The firepower was enough to sterilize a planet. And it hit nothing. The human ships were too fast, too maneuverable. They dodged and weaved through the barrage, their smaller size and advanced engines giving them an advantage the massive Krillian warships couldn't match. And when the Krillian weapons did connect, the human ships simply broke apart, splitting into multiple smaller craft that continued the attack. They're modular, Felrak breathed. Their ships can separate and recombine at will. A human vessel, no larger than a Krillian fighter, accelerated directly toward the sovereign Talon. Point defense systems shredded it, but the wreckage kept coming, propelled by its own momentum. It slammed into the dreadnought's shields, and Vorith felt the impact through the deck plating. Shields holding at 93%, the tactical officer reported. That impact shouldn't have registered at all, but something in the wreckage is disrupting our shield harmonics. More human ships followed the first, each one carrying some new surprise. Some released electromagnetic pulses that disabled Krillian targeting systems. Others deployed physical nets made of a material that tangled in engine assemblies and weapon ports. Still others simply rammed Krillian vessels at high speed, their kamikaze tactics costing the humans ships but inflicting damage far beyond what their size should allow. Grand Marshal, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from Battle Group 3. They're reporting boarders. The humans are inside their ships. Impossible, Vorith said, but he was beginning to hate that word. Our hulls are sealed. Our security systems are active. They're cutting through the hulls with some kind of molecular blade. Our armor might as well be paper. And sir, the crews are reporting that the humans are wearing Tirvan environmental suits. Modified, but definitely Tirvan design. So it was all true. The humans had taken the Tirvan technology and improved upon it. They had spent 5 millennia preparing for this exact moment. The battle raged for 6 hours. At the end of it, Vorith had lost 37 ships. Not destroyed, but disabled, boarded, captured. The humans had taken them intact, along with all their technology, all their databases, all their secrets. And they had done it without destroying a single Krillian completely. They wanted prisoners. They wanted information. They wanted to learn. Admiral Mitchell's face appeared on the viewscreen again. Behind her, Vorith could see Krillian prisoners being led away by human soldiers. They looked defeated, broken. Grand Marshal Vorith, she said. I'm going to give you a choice now. You can continue this fight, and we will dismantle your fleet piece by piece. Or you can retreat, return to your empire, and tell them what you found here. Tell them that humanity is not prey. Tell them that we have teeth and claws they cannot imagine. Tell them that if they come for us again, we will come for them. Voritha's pride screamed at him to continue fighting, to die with honor rather than retreat in shame. But he looked at his tactical display, at the human ships that surrounded his fleet, at the 37 captured vessels that had been taken in just 6 hours, and he made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Fleet, he said quietly. Begin retreat procedures. Set course for Krillian space. As the Fifth Fleet limped away from the human solar system, their ships damaged and their pride shattered, Vorith understood what the Tirvan had tried to warn him about. Humans were not like other species. They did not simply defend their territory. They studied their enemies, learned from them, adapted to them. And they never, ever forgot. The Krillian Empire had made first contact with humanity. And humanity had drawn first blood.